Then we have got also the biosphere, where we exist and share with the other species, both on land as well as on sea. Then we've got also the hydrosphere, covering the water, the lithosphere, and also the atmosphere. But these spheres, all of them, they are held together like a glue by the infosphere. The infosphere is composed of the networks, the communication, the weird wired networks that links up the various spheres, the various entities in a weird wired global world, which is powered by the internet, which is powered by 5IR, or technologies of the fifth industrial revolution, or what we call smart technologies. Now, our libraries have evolved. As we were saying, we can trace our historical roots back to oral traditions. I think even the Bible says that in the beginning there was the word. When we read Genesis, and we find that oral traditions have sustained societies for centuries. And through oral traditions, people are able to share knowledge, they are able to share expertise, and indigenous knowledge itself has been a common feature of this oral tradition. That's why we usually say when an elderly person dies, we say that a library has been destroyed, or we have lost a library, because the chronological growth, physical and chronological growth of a human being in Africa is supposed to be also intertwined or related to acquisition of knowledge and wisdom. Right? From oral traditions, we go on to rock paintings, and these are common, especially here in Southern Africa. And I've seen that also in East Africa, they are common, especially in East Africa. We talk of the Sandawe and the Hadza people in the parts of Central East Africa. And these people we have been derogatory referred to as the pygmies, which is a word that we, from the IFLA, indigenous matters section, we have been condemning, and we want them to be acknowledged by the Iranians as the Sandawe and the Hadza. Here in Southern Africa, we find rock paintings throughout most of the countries, from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, and South Africa, and these have been linked to the San and the Khoikhoi, whom the colonial writers referred to as the Bushmen and the Hottentots, and also as IFLA's IMS, which is Indigenous Matters section. We are working on a document to condemn these unjust ways of vituperatively denigrating people and giving labels that dehumanize them. And these rock paintings tell a story, and they, more of libraries, if you are to go deeper into decoding the pictograms and the pictures that are, shown on these rock paintings. Then we have also moved to an era of stone and clay tablets for transmitting information, whereby the clay tablet becomes the basis for the modern day tablet that has become trendy across different parts of the world. The stone and clay tablets were typically reflected by the Rosetta Stone in ancient Egyptian history, and also the Assyrian stones. And when you read the book, The Stolen Legacy, it also highlights how clay tablets were, collected and used to provide information. We have also seen the era of papyrus scrolls, the manuscripts, the microfilms, and in 1450, John Gutenberg's invention of the printing press, and the generation of publications that led to the world now experiencing a tremendous and devastating revolution from 1500 up to 1900, where new ideas began to evolve, new ideas on republicanism, new ideas on constitutionalism, new ideas on enlightenment, new ideas on Marxism, new ideas on socialism. And this era also marked the democratization of access to knowledge. As prior to that, knowledge was a preserve of private institutions, privileged entities, but now we had the birth of public schools, public universities across, and we see that as a result of this proliferation of information, as a result of the Gutenberg invention, by the time we get to 1900, most empires have collapsed, with the exception only of the British monarchy, which survived this. Some of those that collapsed were the Russian Empire, which collapsed in 1917. We had also the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which collapsed in 1914. And after the collapse of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, it gave birth to Serbia, Yugoslavia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and etc. We had also the collapse of the birth of Germany, the birth of a united Italy. Then after that, with the Project Gutenberg, which was a product of the digital revolution, which started in the 1970s and towards the end of the 20th century, whereby information professionals and IT experts came up with a plan on how to digitize content and create databases of content. Then we have seen also the digital library initiatives that started in the 1940s with, Vannevar Bush predicting that the rate at which information was being produced would require institutions to come up with innovative ways on how to manage this information. And this precipitated phases, different phases, what we call the digital library 1 phase, digital library 2 phase, whereby there was research and collaboration between academic institutions, the military, and industry, like HP, Hewlett-Packard, universities of Cornell, universities of Stanford, and etc., and other universities in the UK and in the Americas, to come up with the software. And this gave birth to open access software packages like the Greenstone Digital Library software, the DSpace, which has become the brand of many university libraries throughout Africa, and ePrints, among others. Then we also see the 21st century ushering in another era of library ecosystems, whereby libraries conglomerate together to work as a consortium, and in order to realize economics of scale in terms of surviving the limitations and shortfalls of the paywall with regards to subscriptions to journals, as these subscriptions sometimes do not match the budgets that are available for our universities, especially in developing countries. And this evolution is still ongoing, and I thought that that could give a good picture of how it has evolved through time. Now, when we look at our libraries, I cite this Dr. Mampela Rampele, who says that there's no way we can succeed in the eradication of poverty if the developing world is not part of knowledge creation, its dissemination and utilization to promote innovation. Higher education is a critical factor in making this possible. It must be the part of any development strategy. So as information professionals, it seems like we also hold the key, we also hold the angle towards this realization of this noble goal in terms of repositioning the continent in the generation of new knowledge for development purposes. But for us to realize this noble goal, we need first of all to answer certain questions on why research in LIS praxis is important. It is important because we need to generate new knowledge to add to the body of LIS education so that it's not static, so that it's not dormant, so that it's also vibrant. Since we claim to be in the category of social scientists, we also need to prove that we can solve problems scientifically, whether it's by research or whether we are answering to users' query or users, epistemological needs in terms of information access and etc. We use systems that are based on science and not based on guesswork. So research is useful in elevating the status of LIA professions among other professions, so that we stand out as, a strong and robust, focused and sound profession that has got its own body of knowledge. Our professions cannot be shapeless and directionless. They need to have shape, they need to have direction, and we cannot allow them to be amoebas, shapeless species that have no direction at all. So through professional associations and through research, we are able to realize this goal of giving direction and shape to our profession. We need them also to weaponize or empower our librarians so that they can provide optimal services to users, and they can also be able to build a critical mass of critical thinkers who can move our profession forward, and also reposition the library in the 21st century infosphere, and also solve the numerous problems that we find ourselves in. Like right now, because of the COVID pandemic, Africa found itself wanting because we will not have capacity to generate any vaccines, and we had to wait for vaccines from other countries. And this, was like a reminiscent of what we can call vaccination apartheid, where others, those who have them, will say we'll vaccinate ourselves first before we vaccinate you. And I think we have learned a lesson that we need to create strong learning ecosystems comprised of libraries, the academia, researchers and industries to generate, knowledge and innovative products that can help sustain us in the event of a catastrophic, development like a pandemic. Now, there are so many seismic shifts within our landscape, of which some of them I have already highlighted them, but we can, the list is it cannot be exhausted. We talk of the technological revolution, the eruption of data management and the legal guidelines for data needs. And we talk of the political polarization, the world of work, climate change, among many things that are beginning to take center stage. And we as information professionals cannot be able to fold hands and ignore them and take an armchairish role. We also have our users whose needs are also changing dynamically. And we also have got the era of digital transformation, which some have associated with the fourth industrial revolution. And some now who are at an advanced stage are associating it with the fifth or sixth industrial revolution, where we talk of smart technologies, technologies that more easier to manage and than the technologies of the previous generations, like first generation technologies, second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and now fifth generation. We also have got the open access movement with regards to democratic access to information for development. We also have got issues to do with the semantic web. That's the open linked data and how it's going to change the work that we do. And we also have to do with research data management, RDM, and technologies like Library 5.0. We also have ubiquitous and interconnected communication networks in the form of the World Wide Web. And we also have got the sharing economy, the economy based on cooperation and collaboration and shareability of information. Basically, that illustrates this infosphere. I hope you can see it clearly there with the various other spheres from atmosphere, hydrosphere, social sphere, biosphere, lithosphere, and our infosphere in between, sort of like serving as a glue that is holding all these other spheres together. Because most of the sustainable, nearly all sustainable development goals are premised on access to information. Without access to information, there's no sustainable development, and it becomes difficult on how we can manage these other spheres. So we need to create an equilibrated relationship between all these entities and the infosphere, so that we are able to manage our future and our resources in a sustainable manner, right? As we move on with these technologies, we find that the digital transformation implies that we need big data in managing the large volumes of scholarship that are being produced. And we realize that we are in an era whereby the rate at which information is being generated. I think you even heard the World Health Organization president declaring last year that the world was not only fighting a pandemic, but it was also equally fighting an infodemic. So we have become overwhelmed by information, and also in those places where technology is in abundance, they also now overwhelmed with the technology. There's now technological, overwhelming in terms of the amount of technology that people are able to handle and manage. And so what is needed are LIS practitioners who have got the mental alacrity and the psychological resilience and stamina to conduct research, analyze data, solve problems, develop new solutions, and improve library services through the use of emerging technologies rather than new technologies. And the revolution is still continuing on through the digitization process started with the beginning of the Project Gutenberg, and now, global initiatives to ensure that content is digitized and is not lost, like what happened when a disaster erupted and burned the collections of a library here in Southern Africa. So we need to rethink how we replace tombs of hardbound paperback stacks with open reading spaces populated by electronic retrieval and reading devices in the future. And our libraries, the mission remains the same, but it's now focused towards the evolution from print to digital, and how to add value to services in the era of information disorder, in the era of proliferation of digital technology, and also how to come up with innovative delivery systems for remote access and the push in smart technologies, and also how to empower our users so that they can enjoy the benefits of this Googleized world where everything is Googleable. So we have also changes in the titles or nomenclature of our practitioners, with some assuming titles as data scientists, data analysts, digital content managers, digital curators, etc., among many other titles. And among the key issues there is that technology should be able to add value to services, even though there are fears and some air of pessimism in as far as how these technologies can be accepted by us as information professionals. Our technologies is they have their basis in what we can call the era of what we can call the memex, like from Vannevar Bush's studies on information gathering, storage, and retrieval, and predictions on the progress in the digital revolution. Now, some of the key drivers of this technological development, we can link them to what we can call the 4IR technologies, which are also sparing, the drive towards the 5IR technologies. For example, the fourth industrial revolution is associated with artificial intelligence, with robotics, with virtual reality, among others, and artificial intelligence, and etc. And firstly, to look at artificial intelligence, which we refer to as AI, it relates to many of our daily computing activities. Most of our computer systems and mobile phones have AI features, of which maybe one might not be cognizant that there are such features. For example, we talk of speech recognition, natural language processing, self-driving or autonomous cars, among others, machine learning, deep learning, and robotics. And we have seen that IA has now become the most commonly used technologies in developing countries, in the areas of medicine, even in the military, where we talk of high-tech war. And most wars now have become what we can call high-tech war, whereby people do not need to fight directly, but it's like machine to machine. And we also look at business, education, gaming, libraries, and even industrial espionage, where now it becomes easier to gather information using what we can call, artificial intelligence, and like drones. And previously, when we look at African traditions, we have got, from an indigenous knowledge point of view, we have the use of indigenous knowledge using animals to go and gather information about an enemy. And this is the basis of this modern, use of drones, where the drone is sent to a certain place and gathers information, and it comes and relays it back. And we also have applications in library systems that encompass cataloging, indexing, reference services, our technical services, shelf reading, collection development, information retrieval, RDM, digitization, and many others. Because of programming, we find that our systems for artificial intelligence in libraries can able to do speech recognition, even assisting decision making, language translating, and even talking and conversing a user and a machine, what we call human to computer interaction. So machines can have the ability to plan, learn, reason, and solve problems, and move and be creative to a certain limited extent. And now there is focus in terms of research is on a variety of issues to do with how to develop intelligent control systems, expert systems that can handle subject indexing, intelligent computer-assisted instruction for teaching and learning and research, and also natural language processing. For example, the analysis, generation of natural language text by computers, so that they say that in the future, it will be easier to serve and communicate using French, English, and the Chinese, because they are becoming the leading, among others, languages because of technological developments. So users will be able to interact with the computers using languages as long as machines are, programmed to use those machines, to use those languages, right? So the era in which we are now, we are in the era of what we can call fifth generation libraries, fifth generation library professionals, fifth generation catalogs that are online, that marks a development from the other generations where we relied on basic technology. So this era of artificial intelligence and this fifth generation of 5GL libraries and 5GL library professionals very soon will be replacing the 5GL with the 6GL because it is an era whereby we talk of information anywhere, anytime, anyhow. Now, AI becomes very useful in managing like digital libraries. And most institutions now, have digital libraries, and digital libraries have played an important role, especially in this COVID era, where they've been able to continue on supporting learning and teaching, irrespective of time and space, thanks to free open software like DSpace, ePrints, Core, and etc. Many libraries have been able to continue on working from home in order to overcome this problem. So artificial intelligence is designed to replicate human ways of perceiving and processing information. And it also, leading to an era where human beings and technology and services, they converge, an era of convergence. And because of the overwhelming, volumes of information that are being produced and the need to organize them and manage them, AI can be useful in facilitating information searching to ensure precision, so that you don't waste time. And in line with Ranganathan's 5 principles, save the reader's time. And the same principles are also replicated by Michael Gorman is the laws of the digital library. So AI can help and be useful in information searching and retrieval from the library collections. And also what the AI will do is to take away the repetitive, monotonous task from the librarian, like shelving and etc. This can be done through artificial intelligence. And the librarian's role is slowly being relegated to that of a strategic thinker, who will now plan, lead, organize, and manage library resources for the realization of institutional goals. So the information deluge, which is the abundance of information, as it overwhelms the world now, it's leading to such things as fake news, and also creating problems of digital fatigue, information disorder, etc., cyber chandriosism, etc., is an area that requires also, the combination of human beings, technology, in order to deal with this catastrophe and put order where there is no order. And another area, these are some of the areas there. Translations of foreign languages using natural language processing, automatic indexing, retrieval of audiovisual materials using optical character recognition, speech recognition, so that music and pictures can be called up as fast as printed records, which is now marks a new dimension to storage and management. And also interactive bibliographic instruction, and also what we can call forensic bibliographic reconstruction and verification, where it's tedious to do bibliographic works, especially for content that is maybe it's an orphan work, and his parts destroyed, and you want to verify how the bibliographic details are. Maybe it's after a disaster and there are no records. You can do forensic bibliographic reconstruction. And also documented delivery services is another area which formerly was interlinked in library services, but it has now evolved into DDS, which is document delivery services. Rushing now. So artificial intelligence will be useful because, for one, in terms of translation, since libraries deal with multilingual text, it can be used for translation. Although there might be problems here and there, like you've seen, when you try to use Google Translator, sometimes you don't get the meanings right. But scientists hope that with time and further refinements, there could be, an effective system. And also, at times you want to search a database and you find content in other, like multilingual databases. So artificial intelligence in the form of natural language processing can be very useful in searching that content and bringing it out and, translating it into a language that you can be understandable. So we are in an era where artificial intelligence will facilitate searching and the retrieval of new media with greater efficiency and effectiveness. And but there are demerits. I'm now winding up now. If there's a fear that AI systems can replace human beings, if human beings are not able to upskill and re-strategize and rethink their future, the possibilities there. I've seen in Hong Kong, I've seen it at the University of Pretoria, where they introduced robots to do the menial repetitive tasks. But however, library practitioners remain indispensable because machines with AI systems will still not be able to fully discern user wants, just as how a human being does it. In terms of really clarifying on such terms, etc., and even to judge how well their outputs conform to basic library principles of privacy, copyright, and intellectual freedom, because privacy has become an issue where now people try to question how safe is the digital landscape, especially with regards to issues of health and etc., with also fears of internet phishing, issues of scams and etc., and hacking, and among others. And new research is being conducted on how we can have this as a safe place. And at times people have tended to use the internet and Google search to find out how they can cure certain remedies, and how safe is that information, and some information is uploaded there by human beings, others information by non-humans, robots, cyborgs, and etc. And we need a new pedagogical philosophy in the form of meta-literacy to be able to discern and validate the authenticity, reliability of websites and the content that is there. And AI systems can also malfunction and do things that they were not meant to do if the algorithms powering them become problematic. I remember at one time I visited Hong Kong University, and they had this robot that was doing, saving users. And when it was internalizing the language of the users to the extent that when the users said foul language, it would internalize that. And when the next person comes, it would do, say that foul language, and they had to deprogram it again. But it was still a project that was in its infant stage. There's also misuse of artificial intelligence leading to mass-scale destruction in terms of wars and etc. And over-dependence on AI can make us forget our basic principles as information, managers. And also another issue is we need the human touch. We are gregarious human beings. We are social human beings. We like to interact, even though COVID has stolen the glamour out of our interactions. But still, interacting one-on-one has always been the hallmark and the DNA of human beings. There are also problems of technobesity. We used to talk of information-basicity or info-basicity. Now we also have technobesity, communication-basicity, where you're overwhelmed by messages. You're also overwhelmed by technological gadgets. You have a laptop, you have a watch that is on internet, etc. Now to wind up on that, the challenges that we face is the lack of technical know-how, especially in developing countries. But through time, this can be overcome. And also funding, because of the digital divide, and also the problem of power supplies, and internet connectivity. We need to work with national research and education networks under the banner of the Ubuntu Connect or Ubuntu Alliance, and limited natural language capabilities, and many other factors that impede us, development of artificial intelligence experts among library automation vendors, and also incorporation or infusion of the artificial intelligence within the LIS curriculum. And the last thing is that the COVID-19 pandemic seems now to be pushing us away from the fourth industrial revolution to an era of what we can call smart technologies, or the fifth industrial revolution. To save time, I think I can end there. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Chisita, for that wonderful presentation. It's been really elaborate. Participants have been keenly following. Colleagues, you note that libraries are not just collection points for information. The best ones who can help to create the information are the ones that are going to embrace the role that they will have to do and then flourish completely in this changing world. This particularly is true for African libraries, and there are more opportunities than ever before to bring the continuities knowledge to the world. This is what we should embrace as librarians and our library institutions. My colleague, Mr. Manje, do you have any input? Colleagues, in case you have questions, comments, just type them in the chat room and we'll be glad to read them out to the presenter, who will subsequently respond to all of them accordingly. We just have a few minutes left to the end of this webinar, so feel free. If you have questions, you can also put up your hand and we'll choose on you to call through and ask your questions. Colleagues?
Yes, Charles has risen his hand.
Okay.
Charles?
Mr. Charles Baziwu, can you call through and make your comment or ask your question? Charles? The hand, so maybe you can control from that side and allow members to call in. I think my machine has a problem.
Of reading. I was intrigued by the point of privacy, the issue of privacy, especially in the current digital environment. And I know for sure that in a few, maybe 5 years ago, something like that, many African countries started adopting privacy and data protection laws. After realizing that, the internet was a reality in many of our countries. Even here, we have a data privacy protection law. And of course, libraries are supposed to be compliant. I'm just wondering what advice you would give to the libraries that are operating in this kind of new environment, where even I think anyway, when we started with the access to internet and services based on the internet in the libraries, we didn't have those kind of laws. Now we have them in place. And I wouldn't love to see some of the librarians dragged to court for violating the law. In the past, they could violate, but because there was no law, it was easy to get over it. So what advice would you give in terms of, offering a service, but also as a library service, being able to comply with the data protection and privacy laws that are in place in Uganda, but also in other African countries? Thank you very much.
Through the chair, with due respect, Dr. Kadu or Mr. Umba, thanks a lot, my brother, for for such an insightful observation. Privacy has become an issue, and the trend now is that most countries they are now promulgating acts or legislation that protects, privacy of individuals. This whole issue even can date back to the era of when Osama bin Laden's attack in the USA, and the USA promulgated what was known as the Anti-Patriot Act. So the Anti-Patriot Act was designed to turn, members of the Library Association and library practitioners to give them information on which websites were, let's say you went on a website, maybe searching for information on an Islamic fundamentalist or how to make bombs and etc. You were supposed to relay that information to the state. But the librarians stood their ground and they lobbied that no, we cannot be turned into spies of some sort. We have to respect the privacy of our users. So for there to be trust and there to be integrity among librarians, we should be able to protect the privacy of individuals and ensure that we, in our policies, we articulate and guarantee also, users' rights to privacy on the information that they use and on the websites that they log on to, that should not be like a public information. And also users need to be equipped on information literacy or digital literacy skills, or what you can call meta literacy skills, that can also help them on how they can use online platforms in an intelligent way, so that their digital footprints will not haunt them, you know, in the long term, on a long-term basis. So they need these skills, and also policies, so skills, knowledge, policies, and also laws that are you know, generated, sorry, not generated, but promulgated at a national level and also at a global level, should be able to protect this privacy, because it seems the way at which technology is moving, privacy will now become more of a scarce commodity, because we are, you know, moving so towards sort of like, you know, homogenization of social and economic life because of technology. But there can always be better ways on how we can utilize technology. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Doctor, for that response. Okay, Mr. Manje.
Eric, carry on.
Yeah, we still have any participants whose hands have been raised. There are some questions in the chat room. Maybe we can read them out to the speaker.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, please go ahead and read the question.
Yeah, Mr. Abubakar Mohammed says these are wonderful innovations, but how can we be key in looking at serious problems we are facing in Africa? Then another question is about, you talked about the 4IR and also hinted briefly about the 5IL. What could be the likely characteristics of these features?
Oh, all right. Can I respond to that? Like, for example, if it the writer should, I think it was supposed to be 5IR, which is fifth industrial revolution. Some refer to it as society 5.0. But other advanced society, for example, in places like Finland, they are already talking about society 6.0. And you know, these also are characterized by the use of what we can call, you know, smart technologies, easier to handle technologies, easier to manage technologies, and also, you know, even concepts like green economy, and also 5G networks. You see, fifth generation networks for mobile and internet connectivity. And they are, you know, feathering on the 4IR in terms of speed of internet connectivity, in terms of also costs, because it is expected that as technology, you know, is more refined and more improved, costs should go down, because it won't take you much time to download or to access or to upload a document. So, you know, this 5.0 is also associated with, you know, cars that move on their own. They don't need a driver, etc. And all those other smart technologies. The key word there is smart technologies, smart mobile phones, smart cars, and smart libraries, digital libraries, and etc. That's the fifth IR, which is the fifth industrial revolution. I don't know whether I left another question.
Yes, Doctor, there was a question on the challenges that we are facing in Africa. How do we become key stakeholders in solving these problems?
All right, yeah, you see, as Africa, there are, we cannot be an island in a world of rapid shift in technological developments. And one, it's through partnerships between academic institutions, professional organizations, industry, and government, as well as other stakeholders. That's at a local level, but also have partnerships at an international level, at a continental level, regional level, and also at a continental level. For example, I have liked the way that the Ubuntu Connect, this is like an amalgamation of national research and education networks. These national research and education networks are what we can call non-commercial internet service providers. And each African country has got one or two. For example, I know Zambia has got Zanet, Tanzania has got Tenet, Kenya has got Kenet, and etc. Now, they work under the Ubuntu Connect. And what these NRENs, National Research and Education Networks, do is to support access to internet for non-profit organizations like schools, academic institutions, and etc. And they provide this access at an affordable rate, unlike commercial internet service providers. But on their own alone, they cannot do much. They also need to be complemented by commercial internet service providers, and then the the NRENs, which are known as National Research and Education Networks. And I see that this aspect of National Research and Education Networks, it's a global phenomenon where you have it in America, you have it in Latin America. They've also organized themselves with each country having a national research or more, two or more national research and education networks that will come in to support and subsidize those that are technologically disadvantaged. And I think also the fact that Africa cannot be an observer of these developments. And because remember, even before mobile technologies came, it's astonishing how African countries were able to adapt to these, mobile technologies, to the extent that the culture of communication using mobile technologies has become a common phenomenon. The only problem is maybe the cost of data and the fact that maybe our economies and also, the exchange rates and etc. Militate against, a viable exchange system to enable affordable data. So we also need to promote research and creativity. Even our education should be education 5.0, education 6.0, where it inculcates a culture of digital inclusivity, digital innovation, digital creativity, right from the grassroots up to the highest level, as we now transform our economies and our societies into 5.0 compliant societies for the future.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, for those responses. We have got a comment in the chat room, and it goes, to cope with this era of digital technologies, it is upon us to constantly be open to any changes in the field of library science, and at all times be eager to improve on our skills and knowledge. Now, the question I think that should come from me, Doctor, is that shall we need special skills, or what sorts of skills and knowledge shall we need to cope up with these drastic changes?
Well, you see, prior to the COVID pandemic, the focus through IFLA, from IFLA to UNESCO, etc., has been on information literacy. And also it has been on, using different modes, digital literacy, but these media literacy, these were not integrated and into one holistic pedagogical approach to deal with the problems now after the COVID pandemic. After the COVID pandemic, the focus now shifted from not only information literacy, but it now focus now was on what we can call an integrated holistic model of what we can call meta literacy, which is a model that brings together all the other literacies together, information literacy, media literacy, digital literacy, technology literacy, cultural literacy, and etc. Because they felt that using such a model would be able to solve and give users and students and citizens the power to be able to develop a critical mindset that will be able to not only think critically, but also will engage with the bigger world in with a critically conscious mind, considering where one is coming from and where one is going. So this key list of skills, they are not like what can we say, uniform skills. It depends on what level you are, but these skills should be skills that empower one to be able to function in a digital economy, in a digital society, in a society 5.0. So it means learning does not end. We learn from the cradle to death. So we only stop learning when we die. So it means the learning is a continuous everyday process where learning can be at the workplace in the form of continuous workplace learning, or learning can be the whole world. If you read Ivan Illich's book, he talks of a future where the whole world becomes a school, the whole world becomes a university. So learning is taking place on a continuous basis. So the list of skills are numerous. You see, we cannot exhaust them, but there are new skills to do with metadata standards for those who are into technical services. There are new skills to deal with, forensic, bibliographic verification. There are, the list is endless. Every now and then, new concepts come. But what the key thing there is to be digitally included, not to be digitally excluded, because being digitally excluded comes at a cost.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, once again. We have here another question from Emmanuel Anguio. He's saying that which one are the other improved services other than big data tools on technological impacts?
All right. Mr. Emmanuel Anguyo, how are you? Hope you are fine. Right, for example, we look at open access. You see, and we know our open access, there are two models of open access. There's been a positive thing in the sense that through open access, you're able to democratize access to information, you're able to make information available to a wider audience. And but even though still there is an aspect in terms of open access, which is I think the gold open access, where you pay article processing fee to have a journal published. Sometimes these article processing fees, they are too high and exorbitant. Another area of impact is the evolution, is the evidenced by the proliferation of what we can call digital information repositories in most of our, technology endowed libraries that now have got, digital content in the form of electronic theses and dissertations, or ETDs, and also in the form of what we can call open educational resources. Content being created within an institution by staff, by lecturers, and it's been uploaded. And it marks a new paradigm in the sense that we are not only remaining as consumers of information that is coming from outside, but we've also been able to generate new information. And not that, we want to populate our repositories with, poor quality, no, but you find excellent information in repositories that is also been reviewed, just like the peer-reviewed information you could get from any other databases. And to the extent that there's now a call for in terms of bibliographic control to reconsider also what we used to refer to as gray literature. Then another impact also has been the fact that digital libraries have continued on to provide services during COVID pandemic, irrespective of time and space. They have been able to support research amongst researchers to the extent that even the vaccines now we are using, yes, they've been produced by researchers, but there are people also who are behind the scenes in terms of, gathering information and, validating that information. Our libraries have, those that have technology, that is, they have been able to play this very important role in ensuring that learning, continues on. And the COVID pandemic itself has given librarians the opportunity to prove themselves that they are, important people. They are indispensable because they have remained in control of the work they do, and we are enjoying the benefits of accessing repositories, downloading information, requesting for interland and document supply, and etc. There are so many numerous benefits that we can talk about. Even the development of consortia, library consortia, it's a benefit. It shows that our libraries are no longer islands, but they are now becoming part of the bigger whole, because there is power in cooperation, power in collaboration, and they are utilizing digital platforms to organize themselves and to leverage services that they can offer to users in order to promote nationwide and democratic access to information.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor, for that response. You've just talked about the many benefits. And of course, I know for a fact the benefits outweigh the challenges. But one of the challenges that probably talked about was, you noted that when you visited, I think it was Hong Kong, you found that robotics had replaced humans in doing routine work. Now, it is common with us, the African, we are normally resistant to change. The question here is, do you envisage any sort of resistance to change? Probably this, how do we counter that?
Oh, okay, yeah. Resistance to change is always a common phenomenon because, human beings think, human beings have their own, perceptions. And now when we apply the theories of technological acceptance, theories of diffusion of innovations and etc., before any innovation comes, people want to weigh the benefits and the advantages and the disadvantages. So usually it's just like the vaccine thing. You see, when it came, there was a lot of misunderstanding because of conspiracy theories that this was an experiment that was going to be going on, and human beings were going to be turned into guinea pigs and etc. And it took volumes and volumes of communication to try to outweigh, the anti-vaxxers, propaganda and etc. So it's not easy for technology to be accepted. I think you even remember when mobile phones came, they were only accepted by what you call the early minority, or what you call early adopters. It's the early adopters. And early adopters usually are people who are at a certain level in terms of status, and they accept the innovation. And when others realize that it's worthwhile, you've got what we call the late majority who might then join in. So it's not an automatic process that when a change comes, it will be embraced by everyone. It's a gradual process. And there are also those who will not accept change. But in most cases, from a scientific perspective, they are a smaller percentage as compared to those who will accept it. And they've got a right to exist because they serve as a means for checks and balances. But they are a smaller percentage, and eventually they become overwhelmed by the early adapters, late adapters, and so these are known as the laggards. It takes time for them to accept in innovation because they are maybe comfortable with the status quo, and they do not want to adjust. So I don't foresee any resistance. The only problem that can arise is the lack of resources in Africa, because we've got libraries that are technologically endowed and those that are technologically starved. So that gap between them, all libraries would want to be digitally included. There's no library that would want to remain using the old model of operating, because it's no longer sustainable, in terms of health-wise, and also given in the work of the pandemic. Imagine having users, clustering at a catalog, a desk, and in terms of social distancing and all those other rules, it would not be sustainable. So the smart way of smart technologies can be the answer, where one can access resources even on a mobile phone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Collence. I hope I've pronounced your name clearly and well.
That's very clear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. At this moment, we have spent a lot of time. I guess we need to be closing. I'm going to request you to kindly do some kind of wrap up on. Then I will invite Dr. Sarah later. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I don't have much to say, but to say that I feel elated, I feel inspired, motivated to be sharing also with my brothers and sisters in Uganda, a country that I have great respect for, you know, the land of hardworking people, and is exemplified not only in the LIS fraternity, but in all endeavors of their struggles throughout space and time. So it's an honor to me. And I hope that we can communicate. Sometimes we have projects where we are doing books. Eric, I think, knows about it. At one time, I wanted to be working with him, but he was too busy with his studies. So let's work together and use these digital platforms to do something, irrespective of where we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I'm so delighted. I mean, your generous comments on Uganda and us Ugandans is really appreciated. Thank you very much, and we are looking forward for a cordial relationship with you and the Zimbabwe Library Association and the Library Fraternity in Zimbabwe. Right this moment, I want to welcome Dr. Sarah Kadu, the President ULIA, one to do closing remarks and also a vote of thank you to the presenter, and also will fare us well for today, and will be telling us when we are going to next convene. Thank you, Doctor. You are most welcome.
Am I audible, Desire?
Yes.
Yes, you are, Doctor.
Yes, you are.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, moderators, and thank you so much, Collence. We are so happy to have you this afternoon, and we are so happy to learn quite a lot of knowledge. The knowledge you've shared with us is really, really awesome. We are so privileged. Personally, I must acknowledge that I've added quite a number of vocabularies on the digital footprints, techno-based, communication-based, and all those so many others. And of course, they are in terms of content and in terms of the professional knowledge acquisition, I'm at a different level right now. So I'm sure even with my colleagues, they would witness the same. And to all the participants joining us today afternoon. So without much ado, I would like to say thank you so much around 15th of September. Bye-bye from me. And to Dr.
Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Mr. Eric.
Thank you,
We
Doctor.
look forward to having you in another forum. Thank you, DUT.
Yes, that's true. We will work out something. Don't worry.
Okay, Doctor, thank you. I'll soon hit your inbox.
Yes.
For some discussions.
That would be very good, my brother.
Okay, Doctor, all the best. Thank you so much for your time and for your knowledge shared.
Okay. No, thank you also I also learned something there. It's only that, you know, we could have more time, but in the future. My sister, Dr. Kadu, thank you so much. And everyone else from the association.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
All right. Yes, stay blessed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Desire.